Well, maybe that's the next replacement for the person we're talking about earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
Good evening. I'd like to go ahead and call this meeting on September 11, 2023 to order. Madam Secretary, can I please get a roll?
Mrs. Costick. Mr. Claus.
Here.
Mrs. McConnell. Dr. Rankin.
Here.
Mrs. Ross. Here. Mr. Wilson.
Here.
President Murphy.
Here.
We have 7 present.
At this time, would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Charter Oak and Rise.
Okay, perfect. Really quick, I'd like to draw your attention and thank our schools for the boards to my right. We have the Charter Oak Bobcats. Lots of pictures of the kids and the faculty doing different projects around the school. And then up here, they've got a whole team of teachers. So if you like to put faces with names, we sure appreciate the work that they put into this board. And then over here to my left, we have Rise Academy talking about looks like their mottos here, the resilience, inspiration, success, elevate, and academy. And here comes the sun, and it looks like that's a bunch of handprints, possibly from the students. So definitely love the creativity that the students and faculty did by putting those two boards together. So I invite you to take a look at those after this meeting if you'd like to see them closer. All right, at this time, we'll go ahead and do announcements. Mr. Wilson, would you start us?
Yes, thank you, President Murphy. Registration is open for the 2023 Fall Break Learning Session. The Fall Learning Session is a fun week of learning with multiple field trips, projects, and hands-on activities for all Peoria Public School students over the first week of fall break. Breakfast, lunch, and transportation are provided. Go to psd150.org/fall to register by September 15th.
Fall Job Fair. Looking for a job? Mark your calendars for the 2023 Fall Job Fair on Wednesday, September 13th from 3 to 6 p.m. in the district office. Bring your resume and leave with a brand new job.
And thank you, Mr. President.
You're welcome.
PHS Community Take Back Night. The Peoria High School Interact and Key Club are hosting a Community Take Back Night this Saturday, September 16th, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. on the Peoria High School practice football field. Come out and enjoy local vendors, food trucks, face paint, bouncy houses, games, and so much more. PHS Community Take Back Night at Peoria High.
Mrs. Costick?
Good evening. Fall break. Reminder that fall break is from October the 9th through the 20th for all schools except Valeska Hinton and the Knoxville Center, both of which will be on fall break from October the 2nd through the 20th. Session for all schools will be held from October the 9th through the 13th. Thank you.
Passion first. Our next mindset within the newly adopted 7 mindset curriculum is passion first. Students, staff, and parents will be exploring different ways to focus on strengths, explore their interests, take a stand, and be authentic.
2023 Those Who Excel and Don Ferris Award nominations. Applications are open for the 2023 Those Who Excel Awards by the Illinois State Board of Education. Take the opportunity to recognize the outstanding educators in our district by submitting a nomination. Nominations are due on October 5th. Go to psd150.org/Those Who Excel to complete your nomination. Hispanic Heritage Month. Hispanic Heritage Month begins this Friday, September 15th, until October 15th. Keep an eye out for events throughout the district as we recognize and celebrate Hispanic history and accomplishments.
Secretary Cardona visits Woodruff. The U.S. Secretary of Education, Miguel Cardona, visited the Woodruff Career and Technical Center last Tuesday to highlight and commend the district's cutting-edge career pathways. Thank you to the board members Lynn Kostick, Martha Ross, Gregory Wilson, the incomparably charming President Murphy, for joining me in attendance. You left my name off altogether. I had to add it. No, I'm just kidding. And those are all of the announcements that we have tonight. Thank you very much for everyone who took the time to read those. Moving on to staff recognition for Waterford, Dr. Nicole Corey Molson.
Good evening, President Murphy, Vice President Rankin, Superintendent Dr. Karat, and members of the board. So, of course, I am so excited to be here tonight to share a very special video that has been produced by one of our online learning partners, Waterford Early Learning. As you know, we have been using Waterford with our youngest learners for almost 6 years now. Every student in kindergarten and first grade receives access to this online platform, which helps to build the foundational skills in reading. Our goal is to have all of our students reading on grade level by the end of first grade. Peoria has been featured in a white paper done by Waterford that was presented in Rome this past summer, showing the high correlation between our students in kindergarten who use the program with fidelity and their growth seen on the NWEA. We are very, very proud of the way that our teachers and our principals have implemented this platform with fidelity. And at the end of last year, we were approached by Waterford to have a video produced that they will be using nationally to share how, with strong implementation, students succeed. So in this video, you're going to see some of our very own teachers and administrators highlighted talking about our success. So let's watch this video, and then I will introduce you to our educators who are featured. Well, we are a very diverse city. We have 27 different school buildings in this town, but our schools are very diverse. Looks very different all across town.
About 13,000 students, and 56% are African Americans, 14% Hispanic. It's a tale of two cities.
A tale of two schools, the thriving Northmore Primary School and the resilient Glen Oak Community Learning Center.
We're all trying to achieve the same thing.
I have an intentional goal to get all of our children reading at grade level by first grade or beyond.
A variety of socioeconomic factors caused Glen Oak to start the school year with a higher population of students who were not reading. Well, Peoria Public Schools administrators and classroom teachers rolled up their sleeves.
But I think we could really start to push this, especially for kids who are not moving as fast.
Inside their toolkit, Waterford's adaptive software program.
It will tell us exactly where they are on reading level, It will tell us how much time on task, because that's important, especially in kindergarten. You may be on a program, but are you really working?
These kids are working really hard.
At the beginning of the year, we had about 792 students starting in the program in kindergarten. Right now, today, we only have 59 students left at beginning kindergarten level.
That's 93% of the school system's kindergartners reading on grade level.
I mean, at kindergarten, if we can get them at grade level in kindergarten,
You answered 5 out of 5 correctly.
now we've just closed that gap. We have no students left at beginning kindergarten level at Northmore and at Glen Oak. They are two very different schools. One is a K4, about 350 students. One is a K8, about 750 students. Doesn't matter. The program is delivering the exact same results for us at both buildings.
Waterford's kind of right there with me. We're aligning.
And it also gives them an opportunity to differentiate, you know, in the classroom where, like I said, you had 22 students. 22 students are coming in from 22 different backgrounds.
It's that piece that we can just count on to fill in all the holes. Because kids come in all over the place in kindergarten, but it's quick to level the playing field, really, if we intervene early.
I mean, it's all about finding what works, right? And it's not one size fit all. So it's a huge part of our puzzle to improve the literacy outcome for Peoria Public Schools.
As long as we implement with integrity, we know we're guaranteed the results.
A huge number, a supermajority of them, are reading either at grade level, above grade level, or they're very, very close. So it's working, and it's all about giving them a fighting chance.
So when choosing our educators to be in this video, we knew immediately that we wanted to highlight our two schools who have had the highest and best implementation since day one in the program, and that's Glen Oak and Northmore. So I'd like to introduce you to the educators so we can just celebrate them and what they do. And we thank you for stepping up and doing this with us. So we've got, come on up guys, we've got Miss Letitia Clements, who is our principal of Glen Oak. We have Mrs. Patty Zombro, kindergarten teacher at Glen Oak. And Mrs. Stephanie Hanselman, kindergarten teacher at Northmore. I just wanted to introduce them to you and showcase their video tonight.
When you're done getting your picture, we would love to get some remarks from you as well on your take on this whole thing. Yeah, you're not walking away without that. Mm-hmm.
You want to talk about how you guys do what you do?
Okay, so I know Ms. Zombro doesn't, she told me she didn't want to speak. But I will say, I just kind of slid into the position at Glen Oak. Our primary group of teachers are amazing, and it is just part of their daily routine. They're just diligent. They start the day out, it's part of their routine. Students, actually, I would think if the teacher was absent, the students would know that every day that they're on Waterford, and they know exactly what to do. Sometimes even when they come out of the office, if they come into the office, I remember we had an assistant principal that would pull the computer up, put them on Waterford. You know, if we were waiting for parents, they would sit down and they would get on the computer. So I would have to say, I know at Glen Oak, that the teachers are very diligent. Like I said, it's what they do. It is part of the day, and it's part of looking at, like I said, once again, you have 22 students that come in on varying levels, and I think it helps the teachers also to be able to support some students while maybe they need to work with other students, and it gives them the feedback and the data for them to be able to be very specific as far as their instruction goes, being able to target individual students.
Great, thank you so much, yes. Anything?
I still may do the same in North
They do the same in Northmore.
My kids always do ask, are we going to get on the pewters today? So they're
The
serious
pewters,
about it.
yeah, the pewters, yep, okay. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much. Really appreciate that. Oh, go ahead, Mrs. Ross.
Yeah, I vaguely remember a board meeting or two ago when we passed a program that was similar to Waterford. What was that? And I asked the question, how many schools still have Waterford, and how many licenses did we still have if we weren't going to be using it? So we are still using Waterford?
Yes, so we kind of switched up who uses what platforms. And so just kindergarten and first grade use Waterford now, where we used to use it. We've used it different ways over the years, but we've been doing all kindergartners on Waterford the last 2 years. And this will be the first year that we're putting all kindergartners and all first graders on it every day. The program will take them up through the end of second grade until they're a fluent reader. So we just will keep, pushing them until they are fluently reading. But there's other programs like, say, Lexia, it might be what you're referring to. We just shifted how we use it, and now it starts at second grade.
No, we were talking about Waterford, but it was something we passed, and I can't remember right off. Usually I can, but the question is the Waterford piece, the parent piece of the Waterford still in force as well?
Yes, it's available. We do say that students can use that at home. So on their reading log, if they want to get on Waterford and do an extra 15 or 20 minutes, they can count that as their reading log. But that's going to be the next big push. I feel like we could use that piece a little bit more. And Waterford actually just finished producing a parent video with parents from Peoria. So we'll show you that next. But we're really going to be pushing that at conferences to get everybody online access at home and show parents how to use it at home. So,
okay, thank you.
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. All right, now transitioning on to community contributions, partnering hand in hand, I feel like, with making sure that kids are on grade point level to read at their grade level. We've got Dr. Nicole Corey-Mawson presenting Look, It's My Book.
Yes. So good evening again.
Yes.
This is also a very exciting award, recognizing our Community Contribution Award winner for tonight, Look, It's My Book. Their story begins in 2008 when they heard that children in Peoria public schools were not reading at grade level. And so their goal is really simple, and that is to give books to children that they get to pick out themselves, read, and keep to build their own personal library. Tonight we have founder Janet Roth here. She assembled a team of dedicated volunteers, which now total over 500 people. And they visit our primary schools 6 times a year to put new books into the hands of our students. Our children get very excited when it's book day. They get to come out to this display of all these new books and choose the book that they wish to add to their home library. And over the course of time that a student's with us from kindergarten through 4th grade, they will end up with 30 books, brand new books in their library. And as we all know, children are more likely to read and reread books that they pick out themselves. So I consider these people silent heroes. They've been working in our schools for many years, doing this amazing work with such passion. And we're just very fortunate that they partner with us, and wanted to say thank you for all that they do. And thank you for partnering with us on this journey. It takes all of us, but they are helping us on this journey of getting all of our students to read by the end of 1st grade. And our hope is that our students fall in love with reading. And now they've got the resources at their fingertips in their homes. So tonight we have with us the founder, Janet Roth, and Stan Butler. So would you like to come up?
Well, first of all, thank you very much. And we've upped the number of books we give to 7 a year. Because with the school extended and we used to look for ways to fill in the summer, but we resolved it the same way you resolved it with the extension. The most exciting thing, I think, is the wonderful thank you notes we get from the children. And one little boy said, "Don't you get paid?" Well, we do get paid. We get paid in those thank yous, in those smiles, and how happy they are when they pick out their books. But the one, I guess, that touched my heart the most was the one that said, "I had no books. You don't know what this means to me." But we do. So thank you. And Stan has been a gift from heaven.
Would you share that with my wife?
And he has lots of organizational skills and knows lots of people and is not afraid to ask for money. So this is a very valuable person. Thank you.
I would say I'm new to the board of Look, It's My Book. Janet and her smile, don't let that fool you. She'll ask you for whatever she needs as well. But I'm a retired executive. I am not an educator. The board of Look, It's My Book are primarily retired teachers, and I realized quickly I don't know what they do, but I am comfortable raising money. And one of the questions I asked in the early meetings, I said, how do you know which books the kids like? Because again, this is different than the Dolly Parton program. She gives one book. The children get to choose their books. There's a label in the book. They get to sign their name in it, and that's very important to them. And in addition, we ensure that the books, that the children can see themselves in the books. And in terms of, as well as Braille, as well as vision, as well as other things as well. So the kids like the program, but I said, how do we know which books the kids like? By the way, the retired teachers are intimidating. Let me tell you, if they know what they're doing, because we buy the books at a substantial discount. The books are drop shipped to our warehouse. Volunteers unload them, they pack them back up. This is not something that just goes to the school's doors. There's a lot of work behind this. And Janet is famous for saying, well, we can do that. And for those who have been around Janet a long time, it's like, if she says we can do that one more time, and we do that. But I said, how do you know which books the kids like? They said, well, they leave the duds on the table. So they take the good ones. In addition to the kids liking the books in the program, the bus drivers tell us they like the program as well, because on distribution days, the bus rides home are quiet. So again, great program. Thank you for what you do each and every day. It's fun to come in and enjoy the icing off the cake when you're the ones really baking the cake and buying all the groceries to make it happen. So thank you. And Janet, thank you for what you do. You've been doing this now since 2007. You're simply amazing.
I would like to add just something to this. Stan, you did mention that the books get delivered and dropped to the warehouse. That is a nice change, because as Janet and I both understand, sometimes those big pallets of books get dropped off at our house, and we have those as extra end tables in our living rooms and in our dining rooms for a while until they get sent to the warehouse. But the warehouse that these folks have is just, it's incredible. It's categorized, it's labeled, it's everything's sorted, and it's amazing what the volunteers do behind the scenes to make sure that Look, It's My Book is running smoothly. And the same thing for all the captains that take all these books. They're lugging these books into the schools 7 different times a year. And the nice thing is that those principals know when they're coming for distribution, so they add those into those announcements. That helps our attendance on those days, because the kids know that's going to be the day that I get my Look, It's My Book. And and they've even started also at the pre-K level with Valeska Hinton in the past as well, because I have kids who have all benefited going through the schools and getting those books at Keller and at Valeska Hinton. So,
Well, you inspired me. I did not share data. We give 40,000 books away a year. 40,000 books. We have no governmental funding. This is all by donations. Many of the donations are $25 and $50 a pop, but we are fierce negotiators when it comes to buying books at a discount.
Absolutely, yep. So when your children bring home a book from Look, It's My Book, talk to them about it, because they took the time to pick that specific book. Talk to them and read that with them. So let them read it to you. Yeah, Mrs. Ross.
Yeah, I just want to recognize Mr. Murphy as part of that. I learned more about Lucas, my book, from you than I did from anyone.
I do talk a
So
lot
know
about
you-
it behind the scenes. Even I have stepped back, being now on the Board of Education more, but for 2 years I did serve with Janet on the board for Look Is My Book, and it's just an incredible program. Many of my, like I said, my kids, but fellow teachers, friends, they're volunteers. It's just an incredible. It's a network. You've got to go to their website, check it out, go to their events. It's incredible, and consider volunteering. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. All right, moving on to, let's see, no district presentations. Presentation by audience members. All right, let me get these out here real quick. Board Policy 2:230- an individual may address the board at this time for no more than 5 minutes with further time allotted as appropriate at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Total time on any one subject shall not exceed 20 minutes, only at the discretion of the chair and with the concurrence of the majority of the board. Each speaker will fill out a request to speak to the Board of Education card and present it to the board secretary before the meeting begins. And on that, we will go ahead and have our first speaker come up, Lynn Fingerhut.
Thank you. I wanted to address the fine arts and specifically the arts programs that were referenced in the Journal Star article today. I'm the parent of 2 middle schoolers, both at Reservoir. My 8th grader had 1 year of in-person art in his whole District 150 education. And I'm so grateful to Mrs. Wilson, Mrs. Brenda Wilson, for introducing art to our student. That year, they also had art club, which Mrs. Wilson moderated, and my student just thrived and it became his special interest. He's still very interested in art. There is no art teacher this year, there's no art, and there's no art club. My 5th grader, new to Reservoir this year, has never had an art class in District 150, and he's been in District 150 since he was in kindergarten. At this point, I'm wondering if my 5th grader may get all the way to high school without ever having a single art class, and my 8th grader certainly will, with that 1 year notwithstanding. And that's sad. I think that's sad and frustrating. The teachers do a great job of trying to fill in the gaps for art. But they also have curriculum to teach and goals to hit, and many of the teachers are in oversized classrooms with a lot of special needs, and art isn't something that can just be shoehorned in. So the Journal Star article from today had a quote from Dr. Karat about exploratories at Reservoir, which cover a wide array of topics and skills, and they're once a month, and they're fantastic. And the exploratories range from baking, outdoor survival, swimming, 3D printing. All of it is great, but they don't replace art. We are grateful that our kids had access to music, and from Miss Mon at Whittier, who probably has the best primary music program around. But music doesn't replace art. Technology is the current replacement for art, and students are already spending an inordinate amount of time on screens. So technology doesn't replace art. Art isn't disposable, and art education at all ages develops and improves motor skills, social skills, decision-making, creativity, confidence, and it's used in trauma-informed education. It's important for SEL, which is something really important in District 150. Teachers with art endorsements might be hard to find, but since the positions aren't posted, and they weren't posted, we don't actually know that. Von Steuben and Reservoir students deserve access to art. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Up next, we have Daniel Walther.
Good evening, President Murphy and Vice President Breaking. It's a pleasure to see both of you. I have been recently substitute teaching at Liberty Leadership School. I have a t-shirt here. And the other day, as I was subbing, I'm the ACE teacher in school suspension, and I had a person who was sent in for disciplinary reasons. It was Superintendent Karat came into my class and stuff. No, she was just visiting this But it was a pleasure to see her. And just really a shout out to Liberty. I think it's really an underrated school. The school principal and the staff there has just been wonderful to work with. What I wanted to talk about was a couple of things. Ernestine Jackson, who's a member of the board, just recently passed away. And this is a segue into really the art program the lady was talking about. Dr. Crott and the board, I think, has made the decision to do a splash park and use a large amount of money for that splash park. What I wanted to bring up was, I don't think that's a good idea. That's just my opinion. But the second part of that was Ernestine and I, when we were on the Building and Grounds Committee, had the opportunity to put a splash park in the north end of the district. And the former first city councilman opposed that. We didn't get it there. What I'm saying is, if you take a look at, there are a number of splash parks in the south end. There are none on the east bluff and north end. And I think we ought to take a look at that kind of disbursement if we're going to go ahead with the splash park. The last thing I was going to talk about is safety. I'm asking every one of you board members, are you doing everything you can to make District 150 the safest school district it can be? We had a series of shootings the other day in Peoria, and I raised the question again, are we doing everything we can to protect our students? We have, I think, to make the school district safer, I do think we should have an armed resource officer in every school in the district. We presently have 3 schools covered. And for those people who are opposed to having protection in those other schools, I have 2 words: Sandy Hook. Those were kindergarten and first graders who were shot down, and they didn't have a resource officer. And I'm saying that I think we have to take a hard look at that. I'm not a huge gun advocate, but I am an advocate of us having one of the best trained resource officer groups in the country. And what I'm asking you to do is to take a look and add resource officers and add money for them to be trained in that. We don't want Barney Fifes in the schools. We want people who go through the police training, which they do, and to protect our schools. I think it was really frightening the other day of what happened. We had schools, I know, Manual had, I think, only 100 kids out of 600 show up. I know Peoria High had a number of other kids show up. But there are schools all over this district that need that protection. And look, I'm just a short, fat, little white guy, but I'm trying to protect some schools that may be 95% black and brown. We need to protect every kid in this school. And I think the board needs to take a look at that, because if something happens and you guys haven't done anything, that's going to come back to you, because you've been asked for a number of times. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then finally, we have Marilyn Woods.
Good evening to you guys. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry.
That's fine. Good evening.
Yes. Thank you, school board and Dr. Karat, for allowing me to address you on behalf of the SROs. August the 31st was a wake-up call and an eye-opener for me and many other staff members. At no time did I fear at no time was I afraid, but I was uncomfortable as time progressed because of the fear and panic displayed by some of my students. Due to the misinformation they were receiving at rapid speed on their cell phones, this caused me to activate what we consider in our field condition orange. Following, I immediately thought of our SROs, thinking, how are they going to adequately protect us as well as themselves? Being that only one SRO has a firearm with possible maximum 15-round capacity. If any one of you saw the firepower that potential threat had shared on social media, it would have opened your eyes. Our SRO's 15 rounds were no match for that type of firepower that person had. One reason is when they add a switch, not a switch some of us are familiar with when we were younger, but this switch is an accessory. When you add a switch to a firearm, you take it from a pow-pow to a rapid capacity and within seconds. Next, once they include the drum, not the drum in the band, but the drum that increased the ammo from going from 15 rounds up to 50 or 100 or more. Now you got maximum speed with maximum capacity challenging somebody with a 15-round pow with the rapid speed of seconds. It doesn't matter how many SROs in the building. If they are outgunned, we are in a dire situation. A study has shown, and was demonstrated this past spring in Louisville, Kentucky. It takes police 8 or more minutes to arrive at a place being attacked, and extra time to assess the situation. By then, you will have multiple casualties. Although the police were right down the street and it still took several minutes for them to arrive, finding 5 victims killed and 8 seriously injured. What can be done well, in my opinion, is to provide SRO with adequate equipment, proper training that will meet or exceed the potential threat. Just as you wouldn't go to a bear fight with a stick, the SRO equipment is equivalent to a stick. So why put the safety of the SROs and the safety of, and staff in an unsafe situation with inadequate equipment? Pepper spray, handcuffs are not a match to stop a threat seeking maximum destruction. In my opinion, our mass shooting training needs to be revisited. For example, there's a school in Shelbyville, Indiana that has the best mass shooter deterrent. Finally, we need to discuss how to react to a threat from within, or what to do during an evening event, lunchtime, or different activities. There seems to be numerous flaws in our safety system that needs attention. We need to properly equip our SROs to keep us safe. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll go ahead and ask for a response to audience presentation.
Thank you, President Murphy. I think the one that I'll reference is the arts comments that were made. And I look out in the audience and I see Leslie, who ranking from PJ Star, who wrote the article. It came out, I think, this morning. I thought you did a nice job. It was a balanced article, so thank you, Leslie. The good news for Peoria Public Schools is that we have a lot of non-academic options on the menu for each school. And Leslie did a nice job explaining band, orchestra, technology, PE. So there are a lot of options, non-academic options on the menu for each school to select from. So there's not enough periods in the day to cover all of them. So Ms. Fingerhut referenced Reservoir, for example, and Von Steuben. And again, those decisions are made at the building level, and it's really amazing how creative these administrators and their staff are and have been. For example, at Von Steuben, the principal will tell you, hey, we're providing art, but it's cross-curricular, and there's certain projects that Ms. Fingerhut mentioned. In addition to that, there's also the after-school art club, and so one of the things that we talk about all the time, and I was, I've been involved with scheduling. I was at Roosevelt. I think Roosevelt had the toughest schedule because we had the fine arts school, and there were many, many courses and different things we had to figure out. We had this, it took us a whole year, really. We had this schedule, a magnetic schedule. We would be moving pieces here and there. But when it comes to scheduling, some of the things that the administrators have to contend with is, interest and certification and those sorts of things. And you're right, Ms. Fingerhut. Some schools, I know a couple of schools, they've had art positions posted for years and have noticed that no one is sort of really interested or applying. And eventually what they would do is convert it to, like she said, for example, a technology course, or another position that is of high interest to kids and would still be able to provide some experiences to them. So it's all about scheduling and certification and being creative and thinking outside the box. And Von Steuben mentioned the same thing.
It's across the board, across curriculum, and that's where they're getting it as well. So they are getting it, they're getting it in a different way. Otherwise, it would be a vacant position with a sub.
Thank you. At this time, can I get a motion to approve the minutes from August 14th, 2023? Madam Secretary, will you please take roll?
Mrs. Costick? Mr. Claus? Mrs. McConnell?
Aye.
Dr. Rankin?
Aye.
Mrs. Ross? Mr. Wilson?
Aye.
President Murphy?
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving on now to the superintendent update.
My two updates were I gave you United States Secretary of Education, Cardona. That was pretty amazing for PPS. I mean, unbelievable. We should be really proud of as a district. I mean, he's really recognizing the work. And I know, Ms. Ross, you go way back with the original, the Woodruff Career Technical Education Center, just at Career Technical, and Mr. Spiker, Dr. Gershnich, all the staff down there, just kudos to them, Chef Yeti, Mr. Briggs, a Braden teacher, a barber, Mr. Allen, all of them are doing cosmetology, construction, but auto body, they're doing a really nice work. And I loved what he talked about in terms of graduating students with options. And I remember when I came in 2015, that was a message that I took away from the community. Let's not only focus on preparing our kids, for college, but also to be credentialed and to be certified so that they could, if they wanted to, take that path as well. And so it's just nice to get that acknowledgement. We usually just hear negative things at the board and complaints, but it's nice when someone from the United States government, from Washington, D.C., comes to Peoria Public School and says, give us a pat on the back and say, continue that work and expand it. So that's that. And then Look, It's My Book. I went to their gala and was just really impressed. Dr. Molson, you did an amazing job with both initiatives, just giving away 40,000 books, and they have a nice endowment that they've also fundraised, and they have money for a long, long time to continue providing 40,000 books to our students. So kudos to Ms. Roth and Stan. It was nice and refreshing going to that gala 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, hey, we need to recognize them again. So we should probably recognize them every year. And then Waterford, recognizing Northmore and Glen Oak, and the teachers and the administrators that are there, that they understand, the importance of providing a variety of experiences for students and meeting them where they are, that they can do it with the right supports and using that external resource to help as well. So that's my update. We're working hard. It's very, very, very busy, but it's coming along. Things are coming along nicely. I'm pleased. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And just to echo what Dr. Karat just mentioned, when the U.S. Secretary of Education was here, it was an honor to listen to him talk about the things that we're doing here, and really, a big thank you to board member Martha Ross for getting that going back whenever that happened. And I thought that it was just very interesting to hear how they were comparing this program and how they want our feedback moving forward, and just to hear from the students that came and our partners in the community that came to that discussion as well. It was just a really great evening. So thank you for setting that up as well.
Could I just say one thing? His theme was raising the bar, and that's what I would like to see us do across the board. It's raise the bar. I always say, you build it and they will come rise to the occasion. So going across the country in a bus that has raising the bar on it, raise the bar on it, it's exciting to me.
Absolutely. Moving on now to the financial update for budgeted, encumbered, expended balance, and percent balance. Mr. Willis.
Revenue for through September 11th totaled $30.9 million. Expenditures through today, September 11th, totaled $38.1 million. toward the end of the month, we expect local tax receipt, our next influx, so that you'll see the revenue and expenditures kind of level up. In terms of how that compared to our last report, revenue is up about 9.5 million. Most of that's state aid. Expenditures were up about 11 million. The typical salary benefits and capital outlay were contributors to expenses as of September 11th, being ahead of what they were on the end of the August period. That's kind of a high-level recap, and once we adopt the budget next board meeting, September 25th, the budget column will have numbers in it on reports after that, and we'll have some comparisons to actuals to budget at that point for the rest of the year. Just wanted to make that notation.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Willis. Does anyone have any questions at the board level for Mr. Willis? Seeing none. Moving on to number 3, proposed expenditures over $2,500. Any questions? Seeing none. Number 4, report of requests under the Freedom of Information Act and status of such requests.
Thank you, President Murphy. Since our board report on August 28th, we've received 0 new requests. There were 3 pending requests noted on August 28th. Of those, 1 remains open. There are 2, 1 remains open. We have received 88 requests for this calendar year at a cost of $4,400. Thank you.
Thank you. Announcing that the second reading of policy number 3:50, administrative personnel other than the superintendent. All right, moving on.
Is there a question on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is that just announcement?
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll direct my comments to the committee.
Okay. All right, moving on to the action items on the consent agenda.
The consent agenda consists of number 1, gifts to school district year-to-date, $95,724.42. Number 2, payment of bills. Number 3, payment for travel. Number 4, human resource report. Number 5, agreement with Illinois State University School Psychology PhD trainee. Number 6, Dr. Maud Sanders Special Education Playground and Fencing Project. And number 7, approval of field trip to St. Louis City Museum for students and parents in the Ready, Set, Go grant program at a cost of $11,227. And that is the conclusion of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Vice President Reinking. Are there any action items that the board would like to have pulled? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve? Thank you. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick. Mr. Claus.
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell.
Aye.
Dr. Rankin.
Aye.
Mrs. Ross. Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
President Murphy.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Thank you. Next up is our deliberation agenda.
Who's on discipline?
Ms. Costick, isn't it?
No.
Number 8, the expulsion. With the expulsion held in abeyance. Proposed action is that the Board of Education approve expulsion with the expulsion held in abeyance listed on the report dated September the 11th, 2023, be approved as presented.
Can I get a motion to approve?
Second.
Second, okay. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick.
Aye.
Mr. Claus.
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell.
Aye.
Dr. Rankin.
Aye.
Mrs. Ross. Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
President Murphy.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Number 9, expulsion. The proposed action is that the Board of Education approve expulsion listed on the report dated September the 11th, 2023, be approved as presented.
May I get a motion to approve?
Second.
A motion, yes. May I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Costick.
Aye.
Mr. Claus.
Aye.
Mrs. McConnell.
Aye.
Dr. Rankin.
Aye.
Mrs. Ross. Mr. Wilson.
Aye.
President Murphy.
Aye.
We have 7 ayes. Motion carries.
Moving on to presentation and suggestions by board members.
Yes, real quick. I would like to acknowledge the work of Dr. Karat and her team for their response to recent events in our community. Also want to say a huge shout out and thank you to our school resource officers, staff, administration, teachers, and everyone who played a role in maintaining the safety of our buildings, kind of keeping those schools a safe space for our students. I know that school safety is a priority for everyone here today. I would like to formally request for us to look into increasing our number of school resource officers. It is my hope to have an officer in every school building. I believe we're at 32 school resource officers now. I'm not sure how many we would need to get there. I believe our Director of Security, Demario Boone, might have to do some work there to figure that out. But I would love to see a course of action to review this request and to properly receive support from my fellow board members as well. That kind of concludes my remarks.
Okay. Ms. Strauss.
I want to support you in whatever in your comments on increasing those numbers. But what I would request is that we go back and look at the plan, and Director Boone can help with that. Look at the plan that was originally put in place to educate and certify officers in the district. There was a plan put in place, and it was never followed through with. It's a 40-hour training according to the state. And we had planned to do many of those trainings over the summer. And so we need to go back and look at that plan to see why it didn't go through, so that we can increase the number of officers that were certified. That's the key right there, certified.
Awesome.
Because in that plan, there were many of the resource officers that weren't interested in being certified.
Mhm.
So I know you probably remember that because you were on the board as well.
I do.
So
vaguely.
it's like we've been working on this for a while,
Mhm.
but the plan that we put in place, we went before you came to other cities to look at how they were operating, and I found a book the other day on that particular report.
Okay.
So we just
Awesome.
need to find what has already been in place and really make it happen if we need to make it happen.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Ms. Costick.
This is kind of a little different, but I would like to take a moment to pay tribute to Mrs. Ernestine Jackson, who has served on the Peoria Public Schools Board of Education. Mrs. Jackson passed away last week and will be sorely missed. She was a staunch supporter, and her tenacity to fight for equality was always present in her everyday life. Her compassion for people will forever remain with us.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms.
Mrs. Ernestine Jackson for everything that she did with Peoria Public Schools and for her life of wanting to do what is right.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Costick. You took it from my mouth, so thank you. Ditto. Thank you, Ms. Costick.
Yes. All right. Reports from board member committees.
Yep. Thank you, President Murphy. So the policy committee will meet on September 20th at 5:30 p.m. inside of the PLC. What is PLC? Media room. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other reports? Yes, Ms. Costick.
The Building and Grounds Committee will meet on September the 20th at 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Thank you.
Any further reports? Okay, before I make a motion to adjourn, I just wanted to say if any special accommodation is needed in order to participate in the board meetings, please contact the district's office at 309-672-6763. May I get a motion to end?
Second.
Thank you.
Second.